In Article 2 by Lisa Gwenther, she discusses the correlation between slavery and pro-choice advocates in the Black community. She starts with propaganda from as recent as 2011, of which includes the 13th Amendment frees us and abortion enslaves us. The 14th Amendment made us members and abortion makes us dismembers of society. The Radiance Foundation stands with the leader Ryan Bomberger, who was courageously birthed by his mother, who happened to be raped, but chose life for her innocent child. The Life Always Foundation argues that Planned Parenthood supports genocide throughout their abortions. Virginia's House Bill No. 1 was passed, of which declared the life of each human starts at conception, and the unborn children deserve the exact same rights of citizens of today. Personhood is called the civil rights movement in comparison to the abolition of slavery. Gwenther's argument is that one cannot fully understand the discourse of abortion, pro-life movement, without situating it with the abolition of slavery first. Therefore, we must practice justice as opposed to feminist 1980s pro-choice politics. Ronald Reagan published a book called Abortion and the Conscience of Our Nation. Here he supports and compares the pro-life movement to the Wilberforce's fight to end slavery. He believes that in the sanctity of the human life. He compares the Dred Scott versus Sandford's exclusion of blacks from the constitutional protection to the exclusion of the fetus from protection as well. Dred Scott was a black man who was denied freedom because they claimed that since he was black, he was not a citizen by law, and therefore his opinion was not given respect in the legal court. This is essentially providing that since by law he's not a citizen, he's not of any value or worth. And ironically, America seems to only value the sacred value of life if it fits into their agenda. Reagan then reframes Lincoln's views on slavery to support the pro-life movement by saying, if one refuses to admit the fetus is a person, then why not so the newborn, 3-day-old infant, or the African American? If you respect the personhood of the black community, you must respect the personhood of the fetus as well. Gwenther asks the question, what must it take to understand abortion as a death sentence? In order to answer this, we must reflect on the personhood of the slave and on the slippages between person, citizen, and life. She asks, what is a person? Or, what is sacred life? A slave is confined to systematic isolation of which he or she belongs to the owner and not his or her own kinship. The slave is in suspension of the owner's pleasure, of which the slave is considered a non-born or born outside of birth. The slave is born in law, a person who lives, works, and breeds, but is natally alienated and socially dead, yet has no rights that a white man is bound to respect. We could see this in the disrespect of a fetus's right to life because it is not a citizen or life considered human. The slave is neither a person or a non-person, therefore it can be extinguished without consequences. In the 1980s, abortion was considered a white woman's middle-class luxury. Now it's considered a black woman's murder of choice of their child's own fate. She claims that if abortion equals slavery, us people can be our own force of our time to choose the moral way of choice rather than to inherit racial privilege like slavery. She also states if abortion is worse than slavery, then the descendants of slaves pose a greater threat than slavery or white supremacy ever did to them. She asks, why is the fetus so important in the United States? And it's pretty clear that it's because it's tied to one of the most special things, being a mother. We must respond to history of pro-choice movement and Planned Parenthood in 3 ways. 1, reject reproductive choice as a sign of freedom and condemn its strategy or coercion as genocide. 2, we must commit to justice of all people and not ownership of the people. And 3, the heart and the mind of the woman must be changed to really make any effective difference. Other opinions include that maybe it is not the fetus that is comparable to a slave, but the mother or the woman who is a slave of the political pro-life thoughts of our country. We need new politics that move beyond natal alienation and the mourning of loss, but forms the new kinship of new power.